That could be possible because if you're doing, well, that would break out to about 25. I'm trying to calculate that on the monthly, but somewhere in the thousands per day is not too far off.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So we span all of those categories, and we do both national brands like an Optimum or, other national brands, and then we have our own private label. So the private label is where I specialize. I make sure that our product formulations and the science behind our products is up to par, and the claims and the messaging that we put into our products. So that's my focus is on the private label currently for my role. But as part of that, I understand the whole market dynamics. I keep a close eye on all of the competition. And then because I am a private label for a retail site, I also have that added, benefit of understanding how those other competitors are performing on our site, versus being just a pure national brand and then relying on the retailers to kind of guide you. So that's a little bit about VitaCost. I can go a little bit further, and I can also give you more background. Okay.
That's great. Just in terms of maybe sort of top down, this U.S. sports nutrition market's been sort of growing high single digit, low double digit for some time now, and I think forecast after that to be at a similar level. Do you sort of subscribe to that sort of trajectory, and do you think it sort of differs between the various categories? I mean, protein powder, ready to drink, and non-protein, or do you think there's some sort of differences that you would call out?
Yeah, I think there's definitely variances in both the product categories, and I think there's also differences in the retail channel. And, I think the growth that I've witnessed has been a little bit softer than high single digits, double digits. I think it's been more mid single digits. And, I think, again, that just may be a reflection on retail channel and also particular brands. So the places where I've seen companies struggle, for example, would be the specialty channel, someone like a GNC and a Vitamin Shop. They've definitely had very flat sales that, they're going to have other categories to compensate for sports nutrition, but at the same time, that's part of what their customers are coming to them for, is sports nutrition, primarily GNC. But they've reported pretty soft sales, and then you're seeing that.
What have the issues been there?
Okay, so the couple of issues there is, number one, obviously the emergence of e-commerce. Sites like VitaCost, Amazon, and the likes of that are making competition much, much harder. So everything is becoming much more price sensitive, and value of price perception is hurting the specialty retailers the most, because traditionally they were priced more expensive, and e-commerce sites were able to undercut them by not having the store footprint and a couple of those overhead costs. They were able to basically offer a much more competitive retail price to the customer. So people who were price sensitive would typically go to a specialty retailer, get the education and the understanding they need to decide what product is right for them, and then once they know what product they want, instead of making that return purchase to that type of a store, they would go online and find the cheapest price. So they're seeing a lot of competition from these other stores, and price being one of them. And then, I would say convenience. These guys, because of their specialty store history, they're not as quick to respond to the new market dynamics with e-commerce. So if you shop like GNC.com or VitaminShop.com, the experience is not similar to Amazon. It's not as user-friendly, and it's also not as quick of a delivery. So, I think there's multiple places where they're just struggling to adapt in this new business model. But I think e-commerce is probably the biggest factor. And then what that is driving is the value of, price perception. And people, are not really understanding that it's worth a couple of extra dollars on their product to get that in-store associate. I think that's the piece that they have to differentiate themselves. But I think people are struggling to pay more for that. They think, they kind of want it the same price, but they still want access to that. So typically what you would find, just to kind of sum it up, is people who are new to the market of sports nutrition, they may go to a specialty retailer because that's where you're going to get the best knowledge and the best advice of what product to use. But then once you know what product is best for you, you'll typically go shopping on the internet to find the best price. And then that's where other sites typically, make it much more difficult for them to retain customers. because they're not as competitive on price. And they've done some things to modify pricing and to be more competitive, but the perception is still out there that they're overpriced. And I think that even if